Hello, everybody. My name is Kamar, and today we will be reviewing our second episode of Season 3 of Bubble Guppies. Season 3, Episode 2, The Police Cop-etition. In this episode, Officer Miranda teaches Gil and the other Guppies how to be police officers and use laws to keep people safe. Now, this episode, I remember watching it religiously as when it first came out. It was really good. I love this episode a lot. Teaches people about how to obey the law without really talking down to them. Not really talking down to kids about how to obey the law, but talking to them, making it fun. All good things, all the good things a police officer do. But I will say that, sadly, if you guys know, during quarantine, this episode had a bit of a controversy with it. So, for those who don't know, I'm going to read the description on Wikipedia. It says, in the wake of protests against police brutality following the murder of George Floyd, this episode was pulled from television broadcast and online streaming in June 2020. Now, I'm not going to talk about the incident with George Floyd itself. For what I've seen, the reason why this kind of insulted me a bit more, it's because, I didn't see any other show do this. And I don't know why. I try to look and look and look, but I cannot find any show that had done this during this time. If you guys know a show that done something like this during this time, you can let me know in the comments. But from what I've seen, this is the only cartoon that's ever done this. That's ever done this in the case of the George Floyd murder. I'm not going to talk about that because it makes me really sad and I don't want to cry on here. But basically, let's just say he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe, and he was losing a lot of air by two cops. Speaking of cops, that's a siren out there right now. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the siren, ironically, at this episode review. But it was really sad. It hurt me a lot. It hurt my grandmother. It hurt my parents. It hurt anybody who saw it, and it was really I'm gonna calm down. It was really bad seeing that happen to that poor man, and I'm so happy that and on the bright side, this episode was put back onto streaming services in July of 2025, which is really good. The only time I could watch this episode was on the website watchcartoonsonline.tv or .stream, whatever you like to call it nowadays. And it just makes me really sad that this, for what I know of, is the only episode that had to have somewhat of a punishment, because this episode talks about how good police officers are and what they do, and the police officers that killed that poor man. I mean, in no way, shape, or form I'm defending them, or at all. What I'm trying to say is that they did something really bad, and they took the wrong approach. That's all I'm gonna say. But this episode is back on streaming services if you want to watch it. From what I can remember, when I want to see the episode on Amazon Prime, I believe it was replaced with the summer camp games from season 4, or it would skip episode 2 and go right to episode 3, from what I can remember. But yeah, it was really sad, and I hate that this episode had to be a part of such a horrible horrible event. Horrible event. And I just hope that something like this never happens again. Never happens again. Because this episode is a really good episode, and I just hope that nothing like this happens again. Like, ever. Because back then, it destroyed me, it hurt me, and I just didn't know what to think. Not just by this episode being pulled, but of that horrible event. But, on a lighter note, I really try not to cry for you guys. I really try, I'm trying. But, on a lighter note, our episode starts with Molly and Gil swimming to school, and they hear a police siren, and it turns out, and actually we see Dr. Clark again, and he's actually brushing his teeth. I mean, he is a dentist, but in all serious case, who would brush their teeth? Who would brush their teeth while driving? Cartoon logic, I guess. Cartoon, something, I don't know anymore. And we have Officer Miranda, who is actually voiced by Wendy Malik. And I know her for being in like, the only things I can remember her being in is Dr. Ruth from the Alvin and the Chipmunks live action movie, The Squeakquel, and being Birdine Maxwell from the Bratz TV series, which is an iconic. And yeah, it's just, I feel like she plays the role of Officer Miranda really well. Her saying, "Hello, citizens," and her giving Officer Clark a ticket, telling him that it's important that you keep your eyes on the road at all times. And I like how Gil is just captivated. He's captivated by the siren lights, like the way he's just looking at the lights. It reminds me of, you know how like moths are like attracted to lights whenever you have like a lamp outside in the dark? That's how he's like. That's how he looks like. And then when Officer Miranda asks, "Do you want to hear the silent Gil?" He just goes like, "A lot." I love Gil, but I'm gonna have some minor nitpicks with him later on. And then he hears the siren. He's just like shook, like his mind changed forever. He can no longer see cars the same way again. That's the type of vibe I'm getting from him. And then they go to school and tell them about what they've seen. And Gil mimicking the siren is just so cute. It's just so cute. And then we have our question segment about what do police officers do? What do police officers do? What do they have? And then we have the song Cop, Cop, which is it's a really catchy song. Especially when they're like, "Lights and sirens all the way, now everybody say, cop, cop, ba-doo-bop-bop, cop, cop, ba-doo-bop-bop, cop, cop." Also, my biggest issue with this song, not with the song, why is my boy Nani in an interrogation room? You know those type of rooms where they line up criminals? What did he do wrong? And you know what really insults me? Everybody else is wearing a black mask, and the classic black and white bad guy outfit. I'm pretty sure that's a cliche at this point. But like, and he has on a mask. First of all, it's not even a mask. He has on glasses, goggles. So the fact that my boy is in this room is very insulting. What could he have done to be in this room? There is nothing that my boy could have done to even deserve being in this room. If anything, he should be outside of this room checking out these criminals. But why is he here? As a Nani fan, this is really insulting to me. But luckily, our next segment has Nani in it, and he is not being associated with criminality. Thank God. It's our shop segment, which is chicken crossing, and we have Dima, and Nani wants his chicken across the road to go to like some sort of skate park. And I really like how it teaches people how to cross the road. And not only that, but it also takes the joke of why did the chicken cross the road literally, and we finally get our answer, because Nani said she would be bought in traffic. It's corny, but it's cute. It's corny cute. I like it. It's adorable. And also like how we have the look both ways. It's always good to hold hands with somebody when you're crossing the street. I like that. I really like that. For those of you who hear like a clanking in the background, I I don't know what that is. I don't. But yes. Then we have our lunch joke, and Nani got a badgeroni and cheese pizza, pepperoni. And honestly, if the pepperonis were edible with the badges, then you could still eat it. But yeah, don't eat gold, Nani. But and then we have our Molly and Gil segment. This is where I have my critiques with Gil here because I don't want to say I don't want to say it. He's kind of acting like he's above everyone when it comes to these segments, because he's saying like it's now illegal to giggle in their segment area, but you and Molly, the whole reason why these segments can come together is because you both know how to have a giggle in the end. So why is it like, Gil, you're starting to scare me. Like your nickname is literally Silly Gilly. Why would you want to be associated without the giggles, the silliness? You're starting to scare me, Gil. But he says, and I quote, "This is a no giggle zone." And then we have a little fish who, of course, wants to test Gil, and she starts giggling. It starts giggling. It starts giggling, and then Gil says, "Come back here, I have to write you a ticket," because he had a notepad on him, and he now has to give the fish a ticket. And then, luckily, Gil was far enough from Molly to sneak in a little giggle. And then Una comes and she says that Officer Miranda came to visit them, and she's there to teach them about what police officers do. And I like how when she asked the Guppies, what's the most important job for a police officer to do, they say like the most common stuff like catch bad guys, driving a police car. But Officer Miranda says the most important thing that an officer does is to make sure that people obey the law. And a law is something that you have to follow. It's like a rule. And then she decides to make an example, and they and the Guppies come up with an example of what could be a pretend illegal law. And they all put it together. Molly, Dima, and Gobi saying it's illegal to swim upside down, sing a silly song, and be purple with polka dots, which I like that. That was really funny. And of course, Mr. Grouper committed to make his students laugh, and police officer Miranda writes him a pretend ticket, and he says that tickets are a reminder that you have to follow the rules. And the Guppies ask to see Officer Miranda's badge, and they're just oohing and awing over it, which is really cute. And then it's time for them to go outside, and that's like how Officer Miranda is clapping along to the outside song. That was really cute. It's the small details that count. And then we have actually a sequel to Triceratops back in season 1. Can you dig it? And it's speed dinosaur. It's speeding dinosaurs, and there's this one dinosaur who's like speeding really really fast and we can't even call him a villain or antagonist because he gave off a legitimate reason, because he got these new shoes and he thought he could run super fast, maybe a little too fast, but I really like it. And I also like the little monitor that they have to see who's running fast, and they have to see and if a dinosaur is running more than seven, then they'll have to tell them to pull over. But if they're running a number below 7, then they're good. They're obeying the law, which I like that. Teaches kids about higher numbers and lower numbers. I like that. So I think this is a good sequel. I like it. It was a really, really good sequel. And then we have our dance song, the police dance. It was really good. And Dima, Grace Kaufman, she really has good vocal. Like, drive and steer. She ate that up. I like that. She did. And then once again, another Molly and Gil segment. Gil once again saying that it's still, once again, he quotes that there have been complaints about giggles around this area. And then once again Molly says it's not illegal to giggle. And then he says, "I'm afraid it is now, ma'am. I just made it up." Okay, you just made it up, but you and your friend like to giggle. I'm gonna tell you one thing. If Dima was in this segment right here, I'm telling you because she, along with Gil, are the two most silliest Guppies in the class. Gil is a close second, but Dima is number one, number uno. So if she was in this segment and if she had giggled, oh, my girl would have gotten in trouble. But yes, and then we have two fishes who start to get on Gil's bad side when they start giggling, and he says, "Stay right where you are," and then he chases him all over the place. And apparently now it's illegal it's against the law for his own puppy to bark, like Gil. What has gotten into you? I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I mean, dogs. Not to mention, how else is your dog supposed to communicate? I mean, sure they have body language, but they have to bark. Your dog is known for barking. Come on now, Gil. I'm starting to get worried about you. I am. I'm starting to think this police stuff is having you a bit too uptight. Too uptight. And especially him saying, "Stop it! I'm warning you." It was funny, but Gil, oh my goodness. And then we have our field trip segment, which is at the police station, and we have the police competition, and it's in the form of like a kind of like a relay race, capture the flag type of thing, where the two pairs of guppies, it's Dima and Gobi first, and then it's Una and Nani, and I really like how they're crossing the road together, it was really cute. Them just walking, looking both ways on fish traffic. I like that. And then they give the torch to Molly and Gil, and I don't know if this was a part of the event either, but like somebody just like starts speeding during the competition. I don't know if this was like a test. For the longest time, I assumed it wasn't. I want to say it might have been, because towards the end, the same girl, this woman, this lady crab, who's also voiced by Wendy Malik. She claims that she's laughing at the end of, she's cheering at the end of the competition with everybody else in the crowd. Which does that mean that she is a part? Was that like a test? I don't know. Maybe because she was because she was right in the middle of the competition doing that. Not like on the side of the road or anything. And they had like barriers during the competition so that people stayed out of the competition's way. So I want to say maybe yes. I don't know. You guys can be the judge of that. But for me, I'm torn in between the middle. And then towards the end of the competition, they do everything right, and they all become junior police officers. And I like how you can notice when the camera's panning out, you can see Una and Gil throwing their hats in the air. Which, for all you graduates out there, you know what that's like. You know what that's like. You know. And then last Molly and Gil segment. Now that Molly and Gil are officially junior police officers, Gil can finally say that giggling is against the law. And he puts up this sign that has like a cross, like a no-go with somebody like smiling. And then when each fish passes by him, they like smile at him. And then one fish just had to giggle. And before that, Molly sneaks in a little bit of a giggle, but then she covers her mouth. And then Bubble Puppy barks real quick. And then the fish, it starts giggling. Gil's chasing it. And then the other fishes from earlier in that scene join them too, giggling behind her, taunting Gil. Bubble Puppy as well. And for the last time, Molly tries to sneak in a little bit of a giggle. And then from a distance, you can hear Gil saying, "I heard that!" And her covering her mouth and just smiling. Saying like, "You didn't see nothing." But overall, this episode was good. Though it did have a bit of a dark time during 2020. I would like to say I really did like this episode. It was really, really good. And I'm going to have to give it a solid 9. I really like it. The reason why it's not a 10 is because of the controversy that went with it during 2020. But on the bright side, if you guys do want to watch it on streaming services, you can. It is back on Amazon, back on any streaming service, iTunes, wherever you can watch Bubble Guppies at. But it was already still available on the website I watch my Bubble Guppies episodes on, watchcartoonsonline.tv. So, yeah. So, that being said, tune in to our next episode as we will be reviewing Season 3, Episode 3, The Elephant Trunkadunk. See you all next time.